Hi and welcome to Schofields Flowers, the home of Scof on Scof. I'm Steve Schofield.
I'm Chris Fraterrigo. People call me Fratty.
Yeah, I'm Tommy Harkey.
No, Tommy, no, you're a PA. Get back. Get back.
Our PA always trying to steal the show. And during our shows, we're going to be talking about true crime
Lifestyle.
and sports.
More likely some hockey, though.
Always hockey. So enjoy the show.
And away we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to Schofields Flowers podcast, home of Scof on Scof.
You know what you're doing last night, you're saying?
I went. I had a great time. I was down at the Ace Hotel. It was a terrific.
That's in downtown?
night. Yep, downtown LA, and had a fantastic time. Met up with a really good friend of mine, a director, and it was we came out here at the same time, and had a couple nice martinis down there, and they always got some great music playing, jazz and things like that. I really like it. They got that rooftop up top. It's
Downtown's
beautiful.
making a revival. And, when I grew up in Orange County, LA was danger, scary, don't go there, you're going to get robbed, killed, whatever.
Yeah.
And obviously downtown was one of those towns you kind of stayed away from. But I think probably since Staples Center came in, it's they've added development, they're growing. I mean, there's 4 or 5 breweries.
Yeah.
There's a distillery down there now that we went to a distillery tour, had some fantastic gin.
Yep.
Vodka, which neither of those I really care for.
Right. Yeah,
But I could drink them.
You're a beer guy.
I'm a beer. I'm a whiskey. I like that American bourbon.
Yeah. And what is this beer? What is this you're drinking here? Is this your apple juice here, or
No. So what I got for you today, Scof, and I know you're not much of an IPA guy, but I think you'll like this one. This is a hazy IPA. It's all the craze in the beer world.
Right.
So it's kind of juicy flavor.
Yeah.
And this one is a sessional, so it's only like 4 or 5%. It's from Offshoot down in Orange County.
Wow. Okay.
Special can release that they do. I'm always grabbing new beers, special releases from them.
I feel like I should be like like a wine, stick my nose in there, but I'm telling you, I could smell the IPA or the citrus right off the bat. I'm gonna taste this thing right now.
Give it a shot. What do you think?
It's good. It's different. I mean, it's a really good beer. Yeah, I like it. It's just crazy, the different beers, the different scotches, the different whiskeys now. Like you said, I mean, there's new distilleries and breweries, and I think it's an exciting time. I think there's something out there for everyone.
Yeah, and I think just in general, like craft, bespoke is the new wave of things. So it's no longer about the mega companies. It's about the the mom and pop shops, the ones that are doing it right. They're handcrafting it. They're making it with love. Actually, one of the cafeterias out in Fitchburg, the lady would always sprinkle a little love into when she made food. It was just an empty salt and pepper shaker jar that said love on it.
That's
but
great.
it makes a difference. The quality's there. If you can spend a little extra money and get something a little bit nicer. But in the beer world, I can go to a brewery and get a pint for $4 or $5.
Right.
I can go to a local bar and spend 10.
Right.
And it's a Budweiser, a PBR, and it's just nowhere near.
I'm noticing even the cans, like somebody, I've seen some cans, just a 4-pack. I mean, actually, I saw it with you when we went to watch the fight, last weekend or the week before.
And there's a misconception with cans. What's a keg?
I have no idea.
It's aluminum. What's a can?
Aluminum.
But everyone wants to drink out of bottles because the perception is it's better. But actually, the light hitting it into the beer bottle makes it worse. So all the top breweries use cans for their beers.
I never even knew that.
And if you don't like the taste of metal, pour it into a glass.
That's crazy.
It's the closest thing to draft beer other than draft beer.
Yep, that's cool. I mean, I think that the thing I like the best about any of these different type of situations, from the scotches to the whiskeys to the vodkas to the different types of beers and breweries, is that you become I'm a type of person that I like to find out what I like. If I wind up I go to the same shoemaker, I go to the same suitery. You know, actually, the guy that I was with yesterday, Jeff Plansker, who's a very, very good director out here in Los Angeles, is starting a new clothery, and it's called The Bloke. And it's in Pasadena, and I'm going to tell you, it's, this guy's got great taste, and the suits are just going to be absolutely off the chart. And I think it's about personalizing, your entire, getup. So
Everyone's got to be special these days.
everyone's got to be special. We all got our own Instagram pages. We all got our own Facebook pages. We all got, you name it. It's just, you can dial in your own car now by, going online. It's just crazy.
Yeah. No, Scof, kind of changing subjects. I've known you for 14 years.
Yep.
Something I recently just found out about you to add to your legacy, to your, mystique. We used to call you Hollywood with your frosted tips.
That's a while back. That makes me
That
laugh.
is a while back.
Yeah.
But Schofields Flowers, for those that don't know of it or haven't heard of you before, what is Schofields Flowers? What is it all about?
Schofields Flowers, I grew up in this flower shop. My grandfather, Big Bill Schofield, was partnered with Deanne O'Banion, who was actually killed in Schofields Flowers back in 1922.
And was that part of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, or was that something different?
No, actually, it was part of it was before the massacre, and after. So there was the north side was controlled by the Irish and O'Banion's gang, and in that gang was Jaime de Weiss and Bugs Moran were two of his big generals, of O'Banion's, and then we had then you had Capone and his whole gang, and he was connected with all the mob in New York too, and so they would have their fights, and it was always about brewery, about illegal liquor and what was going on, whiskey being, it was at the time, and we had prohibition coming in, right? And then it actually happened, and the women were saying that the men were getting too drunk, right? And they were fighting against, they wanted their husbands home, and they wanted their husbands out of the whorehouses, basically.
Well, they were Irish and Italian. They'll fight with or without liquor.
Yeah, they definitely will. So O'Banion was killed by Capone, and they were fighting over territory and their own turf. And O'Banion actually was very, very good amongst the Irish community. Gave a lot of money to the church, which was Holy Name across the street, and he didn't want any prostitution in the market area, in the Irish area. And and the liquor was probably not as good as what the Italians had, and the Italians at the time had also prostitution going on. So I'm sure if an Irishman wanted to get a little bit on the side, that's where he went over to the Italian side.
And weren't they getting their liquor across from Canada?
A lot of it did come across from Canada. So and then you got the territorial with the trucks going through different areas. There was always that territorial fight. There were hijackings and everything else. So
pay them off to get through and all that.
Yep, as you've seen in Boardwalk Empire, which Schofields Flowers has been premiered in Boardwalk Empire and several other movies. James Cagney played back in the day was they had a movie with him, and it just from there after O'Banion was killed in the flower shop, he wound up having Bugs Moran took over. And Jaime de Weiss took over, and Jaime had a pattern, and Jaime would come out of, he was a Jewish, he was Polish and Jewish, and he didn't have a synagogue that he went to, so he went across the street to the Catholic Church to pray for his sins. And he was the biggest hitman within the Irish mob. And they knew his pattern, that every day at 12 o'clock he'd come down the stairs, and so they shot him from an upstairs flop house and then also car, and he was killed with his bodyguard. And then also after that, so of course my grandfather did all the flowers for O'Banion. He did all the flowers for for Jaime de Weiss, and then that later on, then in 1929, we had the St. Valentine's Massacre, and that was the rest of the gang was killed on the Irish side.
So it sounds like the more the gangsters killed, the better business was for your family.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, your family weren't the mobsters; they weren't doing the killing. But how did they get involved in this whole scheme?
It was my grandfather knew O'Banion since he was a kid, and the Irish stick together like the Italians stick together, or any community. So. he came in, O'Bannon came in, he said, I need a front, and I love flowers. I've grown up around flowers, and I wanted to, I need your place to be my front, and it'll look as though my business is legit. So he put $10,000 on the table.
What's that, $500,000 today?
Probably $500,000 today, and plus you're going to be doing all the flowers for us. You're going to be doing everything from weddings to, funerals, to bar mitzvahs, you name it,
Right.
So my grandfather, and that's actually how we wound up coming up with a comedy script that we have also through, Schofields Flowers. So with me, I wanted to make Schofields Flowers like a new imagining, the image of Schofields Flowers today is about grabbing onto true crime scripts and being able to, push those through, whether it be television or films. And so I always had this funny thought of, what if my grandfather was gay, and he was the one that was actually, like going up to the Irish guy, and it says he would go up to the Irish guy going, hey, the Italians over here, are messing with you, and then vice versa. And then he go to the Italian guy and he says, the mix are like messing you up, man, and next thing you know, they got a battle going, and who gets all the flowers and who makes all the money. So
are you saying your grandfather was the don of all these these mobsters orchestrating hits just to boom business?
I think I can't say that for real, but to this day I have a feeling that it could have been. And people say to me, they're like, God, that's a crazy story, dude. And then how did it continue?
Right. Well, weren't you saying your father went to flower school? He took over the business, but this isn't your typical flower school. I'm sure he made, a lot of business connections at this flower school, though.
Yeah, he definitely did. My dad was a big sports guy, and I played baseball and hockey my whole life, right? As you know, because you were a hockey guy, and I helped get you into college, and, I coached you and everything else, and we stayed very, very close friends as you got older, and my dad back in the day was in the '60s was he was the biggest bookie in the city of Chicago, and he wound up getting stung by the FBI, and he went in front of judge. There was a plea deal that he was going to be let go and under a year probation, and he went in front of Judge Julius Hoffman, and the judge did not take the plea, and he wound up going to getting sentenced for 1 year to Sandstone Prison, and that's outside of Minneapolis in Sandstone, Minnesota. And oddly enough, that's where the guys from Watergate went to in the 70s.
That's incredible. We're going to obviously get into more of that as the podcast. More episodes, we can get into some more of these childhood stories. But I know you mentioned your father being a sports bookie in Chicago.
Yep.
Obviously, home of the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yep.
They currently play at the Madhouse.
Yep.
But something similar going on where sports gambling and betting is the biggest, Vegas.
Yep.
And now they have a hockey team, Vegas Golden Knights. And what are your thoughts on a team in Vegas?
Well, I think I'm super excited. I know you're from Anaheim, and when the
Go Ducks.
Yeah, go Ducks, right? And I get chills thinking about growing up with the Blackhawks in Chicago, Bobby Hall, Stan Mikita, some great hockey players, right? Dennis Hall, and I think that every city that can afford to have a hockey team is fantastic. I couldn't be more excited about what's going on in Las Vegas right now. It's the communities within in the city, and also what's happening outside of the city. Being able to, these days, it's hard to afford a house here in Los Angeles.
You're
right?
telling me.
Right? I'm lucky I was able to afford it. Business has been good, production company and everything. But, I watch my kids, and they're luckily, they're getting through it. But so you're seeing more people migrate to Vegas. You were in,
I was in Phoenix for 4 years. I still own a house there.
Yeah.
Working for a sports team there in sales, I was able to afford a house. All my friends now have houses there.
Yep.
And then I come back home to work for another sports team,
Yep.
and none of my friends have houses, and we're all still doing the same thing, but
Yeah, it's
a
tough.
different market. But places like Phoenix, I worked for the Coyotes, and I got to see hockey thrive in the desert.
Yep.
It obviously takes winners,
Yep.
but there are a lot of transplants there, Midwesterners, Chicago's. I mean, a Blackhawk game, for Coyotes is a home game for Chicago.
Yep.
I know you had house out there as well, because that's what Midwest people do. We had the first ever Winnipeg Jets return to the NHL game in Phoenix, and it was a Winnipeg Jets home game. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of that with Phoenix or in Vegas, because it's a transplant town. Not many people are from there. I mean, I'm one of the few people that I could say I'm from Orange County. I'm from California. And I'm excited for Vegas too. I think, growing the game of hockey in these markets is the only way hockey's going to get put on the map in a bigger way, much like the NFL, like the NBA. And more people are going to have jobs now.
I mean, the other thing is that for anybody from Los Angeles, I mean, it's a 4-hour car ride. And,
we're going.
And, we'll be there doing our live podcast, from, the stadium or close by. So
there's the Mob Museum there.
Yeah, I got a story about that. But, I wanted to finish by saying, I grew up playing hockey in a Chicago minor hockey organization, and I played one of my line mates and best friends of my life and introduced me to my wife was a guy by the name of Dougie Olson. And Dougie wound up going to Bowling Green, and then he wound up becoming a line mate of the new GM over with the Las Vegas Knights, and George McPhee. And, McPhee was with the Washington Capitals for 6 years. So I know that George is going to do a fantastic job with this organization. Not only is he going to do a fantastic job, I know he's going to have his thumb on those players, because, you're in a gambling town with a lot of craziness going on, and nobody's going to have to be more careful than those hockey players. After hours. I mean, you just got to be careful. And that's the thing I like about hockey is those players are pretty dedicated, so I hope
especially in this day and age where everything's specialized. I mean, I worked at a training center where we had a treadmill that you could ice skate on, synthetic ice. Everything's specific now. You have coaches for everything, a shooting coach, a skating coach, offensive coach, defensive coach, goalie coaches. But growing up, it was much different in Orange County and in LA. And, I think there was 2 ice rinks in Orange County. Both of them were terrible.
Right.
One of them had a dip in the center ice, good old Costa Mesa. But now it's thriving, and it's because the Ducks. It's because the Kings are pouring all this money into their systems of growing the game. You look at Austin Matthews with Arizona, the first overall draft pick playing out of Arizona, and that's because the Coyotes went there and they developed a hockey program for the youth. And that same stuff is going to be happening in Vegas. They got the new minor team, not minor league, but minor program for kids in the junior Knights. And they're building a state-of-the-art training facility for the team, but also for youth hockey. And it's only going to grow. And, there's athletes everywhere.
Yeah, and I think that's just because you got so many people that are in Vegas from Chicago, New York, Detroit, the East Coast. When I came out here originally, 27 years ago, Stefan was, 9 years old, my son, and, most of the guys like ourselves who had kids would, train our kids, and then we were the ones that put the teams together, and hockey in the West Coast is booming right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I think growing up, outside of maybe when I was really young, all my coaches were Canadian or from back east, and they brought the game here, and we were good teams. I mean, I played for the Westminster Wave. I think they're the California Wave now.
They won many.
Buddy McKinnon and Turcotte and Pitch and all these great coaches who put on teams, and now players that I played with or were in our organization are playing professional. And when I was a kid, I think the only person I knew that ever played in California that was in the NHL was Richard Park. But now, you can look at any college program, you can look at any minor league there is, and there's, professional player from California, born in California, not just played in California.
More West Coast drafts are happening on our Western Hockey League than you could ever imagine right now. So I couldn't be more excited. So, let's get out of the cold. And so what'd you do over the weekend?
So last weekend, I kept it pretty low key. I went to a escape room.
Oh, wow. How was that?
It was incredible. If you haven't done one, I highly recommend one. I've done it twice now. The first time we missed it and the guy said we probably 5 more minutes would have escaped.
Right.
So left a little bit of a bad taste in our mouth. So we signed up for another one at a different place, and we escaped with 15 seconds left. And so
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so the next time we go, we're going to try to beat our time. Obviously there are different courses that you do or different rooms, but
I'm actually very familiar because, through my production company, Monop Films, we represent a very good director, and Michael Counts, and he is the creator of the Escape Room Paradiso in New York. So I've been, offering up to several clients, you have to go see it, and, we're building out, he's building out a few more, along with, us having the opportunity to do more experiential type projects. So we're pretty excited about that.
They're a ton of fun. They're great for team builders. They're great for your friends. I couldn't highly recommend, Yelp them, review them, but they're all fun. What about you, Scof? What were you doing?
I went out, I wanted to get away from the city. It seems like it's bumper to bumper every 5 minutes, and so my wife and I went out to the Carribean Outpost. And
where's that?
That's in Ojai.
I've been up there for their film festival before.
Yeah, and they got some great music going on. So a very close friend of mine, Brad Stewart, and his wife, Sean, started it's probably the first hotel in the last 14 years to start up. And they wound up, it's 12 Airstreams, state of the art, and they either bought brand new ones or Airstream gave them, the Airstreams to utilize, and then he also bought several of them and refurbished them, and they're absolutely beautiful.
So it's kind of like glamping, is what you're saying.
Yeah, wanderlusting. It's more like wanderlusting.
Hipster paradise.
It really
all
is.
The comfort of a hotel, but you're out in the wilderness, roughing it. With the comfort of a shower and a warm bed. But gets you with all the feel. How long were you guys there for?
We went for the weekend. So we had 2 nights up there, and I tell you what, it was just beautiful. And the nice thing is you have the 12 Airstreams, in a circle almost like wagons back in the day,
circling the wagons,
circling the wagons. Nice fire pit, unbelievable. Next thing you know, kids are coming out who, it's mostly couples, but somebody might have their kids with them or whatever, and you're sitting around a campfire, you're sharing some nice scotch, you're sharing some wine, and it's just wonderful. You can see the stars, something you can't really do from here, unless you go out to
what are stars?
Right? So
other than the celebrities we see here.
Yeah, that's about it. So
yeah.
But I'd recommend it to anybody because it's for a quick getaway, it's an hour and a half away here from Los Angeles. So if you're actually coming into town to LA, which we get so many people fly in and out of here for entertainment, I would highly suggest that if you need a nice weekend away, rent a convertible. And get to, put your top down and drive out to Carribean Outpost.
No, that's awesome. And, we are in the entertainment capital of the world. So place I recently took up was Beetle House. It's a pop-up, which are all the craze these days. And it's all about Tim Burton. And so I know you're a film guy. You're all about that. And we got a chance to go. It was about a month and a half waiting list to get a decent reservation for the dinner. But you can go there for just drinks.
Right.
Everything's themed. So there's a bunch of characters. Willy Wonka, obviously Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands. But if you're lucky enough to get reservations and go for dinner, the food's great.
Right.
It's a little pricey, but you're paying for the experience. It's a limited time there, but you get a show, and it's like a sideshow carnival where sword swallowing girl that breathes fire. They're playing little clips of all the different movies.
That's fantastic.
It's right here in Hollywood. It's right across from the It experience that's going on right now for the new Stephen King movie. I just saw that.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking that was it, but so this is no pun intended. So I haven't seen it because I've gone by the It experience because I'll get off that at Vine to come into the office here. But that's fantastic. I got to go check it out. I'm a big Beetlejuice fan. I'm a big Tim Burton fan. He's done some fantastic films.
I love Tim Burton. I think there's probably about 4 or 5 directors that it doesn't matter what they put out, I'm at least going to see it. And I'd say 9 out of 10 times I love it. Wes Anderson's one of them, Christopher Nolan, Tim Burton, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, other than the episodes 1 through 3 of Star Wars, because those were terrible, but the original trilogy was amazing. we're big movie buffs in our household.
Well, all right. Well, that seems like that's the end of this episode.
That's the end of episode 1. Many more to come.
Yep.
Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, on iTunes. Follow us on Instagram at Schofields Flowers. Check us out on Schofieldsflowers.com. That's a mouthful.
You gotta trim that little beard there.
It's getting a little long, I know. We'll see how long I can get it going for. And this episode was sponsored by
Carribean Outpost. We appreciate you giving us the opportunity here. And we're going to have, follow us on continued episodes, and we'll be giving away a free night at Carribean Outpost in coming episodes. So stay tuned.
Yeah, comment on your favorite part about our podcast. We'll be giving out away Scof on Scof t-shirts, and that's on Instagram at Schofields Flowers.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.